12, 2014. We're going to call the meeting to order. Ms. Burgos, would you take roll?
Trustees present tonight are Trustee Ortega, Calderon, and Vizcarra. Trustee Aguilar and Duarte absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss Aguilar, just for the record, always, she can't get out of work at 5, and Ms. Duarte called me that she's running a little late, so they will probably join us during closed session. Trustees that are here, we're on agenda item C, the approval of tonight's agenda. We can get a motion on that.
I move to approve.
There's a motion by Mr. Calderon to approve the agenda. Is there a second? A second by Mr. Ortega. All those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Those voting in favor are Trustee Ortega, Calderon, and myself. We'll take public comments at this time on closed session items only. I don't have any slips in front of me, and I don't think there are any, so we're going to move on to item E, the announcement of convening into closed session. Mr. Weiler.
The board will now go into closed session to consider the items listed in F in the agenda as the F6, the anticipated litigation. That matter involves allegations of sexual harassment and retaliation by a former employee.
Thank you. We are going to closed session. We should be back in an hour. 9 p.m. We've just reconvened from closed session. Mr. Weiler, actions taken in closed session.
There is no action to report at this time. The board will reconvene in closed session later and come back and announce action taken at that time.
Thank you. We are on item I on your agenda, Superintendent's Report.
Good evening, trustees and community. Today's report will be very brief. It's been a very hectic last 2 weeks. Thank you for the trustees that were able to attend the various different promotion ceremonies in the last few days. And of course, we had the two big graduations, which were Aurora High School and where most of you were able to attend, in Calexico High School last night. We had quite a few students graduating from both schools. I believe that Aurora High School had its largest graduating class in Mr. Moreno's tenure, so he was very excited, and I believe that Calexico High School last night had about 600 graduates. So we look forward to being able to continue to serve the needs of our community. We had a very interesting fireworks display at the end of last night's graduation ceremony, and although it's a very attractive, and there was apparently an injury as a result of the embers from the fireworks display, and I've attempted to call the family, and there was I believe a young teenage boy who was hit by some embers last night, and he was treated at the hospital and released. I did make a phone call to the family, and I have not yet received a call back, but I'm expecting to find out how that has turned out. We continue to move forward, and I'll be taking off 3 days of vacation next week, so I just thought I'd let you know that right now. Okay, and very brief report for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Humphries.
Okay, I believe that there's a cake over over yonder, and it's in recognition of some very special birthdays for this month. So just a couple. One of them being our illustrious attorney here, and the other one being, which is tomorrow, and the other one being myself, which is on Saturday. But the one that's today is Mrs. Zuno. So happy birthday, Mrs. Zuno. So we'll take a couple of minutes, not too many.
A few minutes, yeah.
Okay. Let's go get the cake.
All right, well, welcome back, and thank you for the cake and for the song, and happy birthday to those still waiting for theirs. We are on item J in our agenda, the association comments. We have Mr. Taylor here from ACT.
There we go. Good evening, members of the board. I prepared another little speech for you. So first, I want to tell you about something amazing that took place over the last few weeks at my own school site, Calexico High School, 9th grade campus. Our vice principal, Mr. Romero, and several very dedicated teachers came together to start a tutoring program to help over 100 of our most at-risk students. Our teachers spent their lunchtime and hours after school working with these students, and as a result, more than half were able to meet the necessary number of credits to move on, and even more will go on to the 10th grade after going to summer school. These results are astounding, and they speak to what we can expect when we work together. I, too, have recently had a very positive experience working with the district to plan for summer curriculum work. Meeting with Ms. Armendariz and Dr. Estrada, we designed a planning sequence for teachers that makes sense and will help our district's educators prepare for a successful new school year. Working with them on this was a pleasure, and again, collaboration has yielded a great result. All of this being said, looking at the agenda for tonight, I saw an item that upon first look is very disappointing. The fact that we have to return $407,000 to the state because it was not used on time. That's nearly $500,000 that can no longer be spent on our students. There is the old saying that we should not cry over spilt milk, but when there is so much being spilled, it's hard not to be a little upset. With this in mind, I urge you to think carefully about a decision you will have to make in the future, namely the approval of the use of $1.8 million for Common Core. That money, like the $407,000, has a deadline. And while I understand the board's desire to allocate the funds in as fair a way as possible, there may never be a perfect formula for this with all of the variables involved. Our district, teachers and administrators alike, spent days of time collaborating on how best to use those funds for our students, and I speak for our teachers when I say the plan they put forth to you at the last regular board meeting was a good one. Once more, collaboration yielded great results. But I also speak for our teachers when I say that we don't want to see this chance to provide new opportunities for our students become more spilt milk. That's what I have to say for tonight. I'm keeping it short, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Do we have someone here from CSEA? No. This time we're moving on to agenda item K, comments from the public. We will take them as they were handed to me. We have Ms. Lori Bleck representing Calexico High School counselors.
Good evening. Teachers have set prep days, teacher check-in days. Counselors do not. We used to, we do not anymore. We have the same contract as teachers. As we all know, at the beginning of the year, students need to be placed in appropriate classes. But before this can happen, what has to be done? Counselors need to review summer school grades. We have to review transcripts. That takes a lot of time. And with our current schedule, if you will, it is not happening. But with this extra time, we can make adjustments accordingly, and once again, this takes time. It is for this reason that most Valley High Schools, I'm guessing it's safe to say all Valley High Schools, have extended schedules for their counselors. They work both before school starts in August and at the end after school's out in June. Hopeville, they have 20 extra days, Imperial 15, Central Union High School District 13 extra days. We don't have any extra days. We fully recognize that there are budget constraints. However, to help ensure student success, we need extra days. With extra time, we can review schedules and hopefully troubleshoot reviewing schedules before they're passed out to students and parents, and take care of anything that we see that needs to be changed. This would make the registration process run more smoothly for students and parents, and you guys would probably be getting less, complaints also. But just to make sure that more students are where they need to be on day one, not wait till September or even October to get everybody to where they need to be. Once again, while more days would be better, we are requesting at least a minimum of 10 extra days, and that would be 8 at the beginning prior to basically the teacher contract starting, and then 2 days after school ends in June. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blick. Ms. Marcy Rodriguez from representing Calexico High School counselors.
Good evening. I'm Marcy Rodriguez. I've been with the district for 21 years, beginning as a teacher and as a counselor for the majority of that time. My points kind of dovetail with what Ms. Bleck mentioned. This year I was assigned to be an at-risk counselor, and most of that was dealing with seniors this year. And something happened today. Yesterday was my last day of work. It does not make sense that yesterday was my last day of work. There was great changes up till the last minute yesterday. So the non-grad list was changing up until the last minute. So at what point am I supposed to wrap up the year? The list of non-grads and what were the educational plans, and there's just no time. The last day of school cannot be my last day of work. So I did spend all day today till 4 there, and I'll be there again tomorrow, which goes against what union would want me to do. But our nature is that we're going to do what's got to be done, because the other part is that a lot of my non-grad seniors are going to show up in the next few days asking for classes. And if I don't leave documentation correctly, the summer school staff will not know how to handle those students. We do have a senior clearance process, and I turned in a report to Mr. Pesqueira today where I don't know, like half of the non-grad seniors never came through my office to come up with an educational plan as to how are they going to secure their graduation, their diploma. And those kids will show up on Monday of summer school, and if I haven't submitted the accurate information, they won't know what to do with them. So as Ms. Bleck says, we do need time in the beginning and time at the end. The thing is, in the beginning, we need to evaluate transcripts to make sure, as she said, that they're in the right classes. But at the end, when kids are signing up for summer school, we have not had a chance to look at second semester Fs. So we tell kids, if you fail a course, you got to sign up for summer school. But does that really happen? Or we have kids who end up taking classes they've already passed, and they still end up with that deficiency of the semester that they didn't pass. So they end up taking a whole summer school course that they didn't need. School starts and we say, you still owe that world history first semester or whatever. So those extra days would be super helpful to make sure that the kids are in the classes that they're supposed to be, and make corrections when necessary. So the end of the year just cannot be the last day of school. That doesn't make sense. I just with seniors, because it seems Ms. Bleck, as a senior class counselor this year, uses a lot of her time with that top part of the class with letters of recommendation and colleges and FAFSA and all that stuff. And at risk takes a lot of time too. I've got 4 3-inch binders of documentation and contacts with students. What made me sad today is as I was preparing that report for Mr. Pesqueda, I came across kids who never came through the senior class, the senior clearance. When looking at the record, they could go to summer school and resolve their problem, but there's nobody there to help them do that. There's no summer school counseling for a long time now, so we do need extra days. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez.
Madam
I
President?
have a question too, so go ahead.
Yes, please. Madam President, can we?
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez, has this issue gone to your union?
Yes, there's 8 of us. Is that 8 of us left in the district? We don't count for much. We're not important. We're not a priority.
Okay, because,
I've been laid off twice in my 21 years here.
yeah.
So I certainly have had dealings with, coming before the different boards across the years. We've had contact with union representatives over the course of the years, but we're just not enough. We're not a priority.
Okay.
And our needs
I-
are different from teachers. Our needs are different.
And I understand, but you fall under their contract. I'm just guiding you because
Yeah.
I in my real job, I represent counselors and psychologists in another school district. And we do negotiate the time
Right.
for them, extra time. I had no knowledge. ACT negotiates the contract for the year, and I have no knowledge that you guys don't work outside the instructional days. I know that you have to have outside days.
Right.
I thank you for bringing it up to our attention, but you have to do some type of effort or get a counselor
have,
on your
and Ms.
negotiating
Bleck has
team.
certainly, Ms. Bleck this year has had a lot of contact, and we know that. We know the process, but we're like just beating the bushes right now because we're not getting anywhere with that other route. So we want to make sure that you know and that the public knows
Yeah.
what's
and
happening.
you have to bring it up to your association because that's the proper
We have.
avenue to it.
We used to have extra days. When I first became a counselor in 1999, we had, I believe it was 7 extra days, and it was kind of like an MOU, but it was unofficial. But that was just like, we would start basically 2 weeks before the classes started. And once again, things have changed since then. And then when the big budget crunch came, it was like there was nothing written down according to our union, to the district, whomever, that it was just kind of an oral agreement, and so they did away with it. So basically, we've had to fight over the last 4 years just to get those extra days. Our administrator, it's like fighting to get us extra days because registration, you can't just say, here's registration, go to it. It's like, and like I said, with time to review transcripts, schedules, you can kind of troubleshoot and like, okay, this is wrong or whatever. Okay, let's make these changes before we start handing everything out. But with our current schedule, I think the last 2 years we've had like 1 day maybe before registration, and it's like that's just not enough.
And
and-
no summer school counselor.
And no summer school
And-
counselor.
and we have a
quite
new
some time.
calendar for the following year,
Mhm.
and I assume that you guys have not been extended any dates.
As far as I know, and like I said, I have been in contact with our union reps, and as far as I know, nothing has happened.
Well, you have new leadership, so maybe contact your leadership.
All right.
I would suggest you guys get involved into the committee, the negotiating committee. You have to get somebody.
We're trying. We're trying. Trust me.
And just as a note to that, I do want you to know that the topic of extended days for counselors has been brought up to me by school site administration and separately by ACT. ACT leadership, in a recent meeting that we had a few days ago, that was one of our topics of discussion. So I just want it to be known that, Mr. Pesqueda has addressed the issue, as did Mr. Taylor and Mr. Cooper as well, in the last 2 weeks. Just want to say that.
Thank you. It's good to know.
But that's not official negotiations, right?
No, it was a
It's just discussion.
a topic that came up of what we'd like to continue talking
Well,
about.
I am going to interfere and say that then, unfortunately, if you guys don't get those extra days, then administration can complain when at the end of the school year, things don't go their way.
I know,
So,
but how can we, it's not gonna.
I
happen that
underst-
we
I
do
understand.
undone work.
It's
No.
not in your
It's
nature
not
because you
gonna
counsel.
I understand because I do have 18 extra days. I have 10 extra days in before and 8 days after. So,
Either we
yes.
take work home with us,
Uh,
or we stay.
well,
with
you
it.
shouldn't.
So,
You
but
shouldn't take work
that's
home.
our life. That's
If
right.
administration-
Who gets that for the kids, the parents?
Well, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. If administration is not willing to help you with that, if your union unfortunately is not willing to help you with that, we'll bring it to us, and we'll try to do whatever we can to help you. Even though it hasn't been worked out, an MOU with between the ACT and the district could happen. Although those MOUs are only on a year-by-year basis, I don't know what else. I don't know what else to tell you, but I do feel for you, and I hope that in the next couple of months something gets resolved, because it's not fair for you and it's not fair for the students that they have to wait 3 or 4 weeks before they're placed into that World History semester 1. That they need to make up, or before they need to before they can take English 1 again, and you're a senior.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
even aside from the extra days, the idea that the grade level counselors have caseloads that are ridiculous compared to what the recommendation is, compared to what our colleagues in other districts have, to have 600, 700, 800 students assigned to you is crazy.
Well, that's statewide. Next year I'm gonna have 500 students. So.
Thank
but-
you, though. Thank you for
Fine,
your
I'll do
comments.
So,
Are you ready?
look, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks.
We're in item L of our agenda, discussion and possible action. If you look at your agenda number 1, there's an agreement of an extension between California Consulting Services and Calexico Unified School District for grant writing services for next fiscal year, 14-15. This is a contract that we currently have had for grant writing services. I think this board has brought this up on several occasions. Is there any discussion at this time on the contract that you have before you?
Had we had, and refresh my memory, Madam President, or if anybody else knows, have we had a presentation as to what is it that they have brought to us, and what grants they have acquired and things like that? I'm not saying they haven't. I'm just saying I don't remember.
Presentation from California Consulting, no. I think we have had information brought to us, but maybe there's something more specific that you can share?
I just don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, with California Consulting, we secured a grant, I believe it was last year. Probably Dr. Spencer was still here, the tire-derived grant. And then this year, I believe we have not been able to acquire any grants through them. They did work heavily on one called the Baseball Tomorrow grant. We had advanced to a second round. The people from Baseball Tomorrow came out, but they were subsequently asking for additional requirements that needed to be done then and now at that moment. And so I gave the directives that at this point we can't continue because what you're asking for was not initially posed when the grant was as part of the initial grant requirements. And they have gone out to another grant, and we've also moved very quickly with that one. Hopefully we'll get some resolution to that. I know that towards the beginning there was, of this school year, there was a little to no traction with California Consulting, but they did reassign someone to work with us, and the consultant that was working with us was very cooperative and was able to exchange information a little more readily with the district. it's just, it needed to be noted that as of now, no, there has not been any significant grants secured through them, but we do have one in progress with them. They're also looking at trying to secure an SRO grant, so hopefully that would also pan out.
So they got paid, and they got paid because, of course, they're not gonna work without getting paid. So they got paid, yet they didn't bring anything significant to
That
us,
is
right?
that is correct.
Nice.
Was there a similar?
It's not loud enough.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm sorry. Was there a similar agreement approved last year with this company? And
Yes.
yes, okay, I ask because, you know, it states in the agreement of a needs assessment that would be done with the district as to the needs and the grants that it would seek. So my question would be, if there was a needs assessment done last year, you know, what were the needs and what has come to fruition since then?
The needs continue to be playground equipment, anything that had to do with security. We had visits from them initially, and again, the person that we were working with the company didn't seem to be very responsive to the needs of the district at the time. In ongoing communication with California Consulting assigned someone different, and that person was much more cooperative. She actually came out here and did a lot of legwork, and that is why she's already been able to immediately apply for another grant for us. But again, in response to Mr. Calderon's earlier question, there was not anything that came to fruition. Ms. Helt, who is the one who is working with us from California Consulting, is very very knowledgeable now of what the needs are here in Calexico, particularly with the elementary school playgrounds, because that was obviously continues to be a very big area of need for all of our schools. She visited most, if not all, of our schools this year to conduct those needs assessments. And so one of the things that Mrs. Montaño asked is that we look at the contract, that if we were to continue with them, if there was anything else that you wish to add to the agreement, if we wanted to continue to work with California Consulting or not. Yes, ma'am.
Wasn't the initial agreement, it's okay. Didn't the initial agreement include providing training for us as a district for grant writing so that we could develop our own team?
Yes, I believe so.
And when we renewed, didn't I specifically ask for that to happen?
Yes.
And that never happened?
No.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, they were going to provide a training, but there wasn't any assurance that it would be an in-depth. And if it's like I think it was a 3-hour or 4-hour, and that's not enough to be able to, you know, to give people a certificate in grant writing. You know, that would just be kind of like how they come and present to us and talk about what I've attended those type of trainings through San Diego State. But what I was talking about is, you know, identifying people in our district. I myself am interested in that part because I see stuff on the state grants that we're bypassing, and I don't understand why we don't apply to them. So my individual comment or view is that we're not getting served by this company.
Miss, I'm sorry, do you have? Couldn't Miss Montaño do? Never mind.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
1,000 miles an hour.
finally, I did call Janet and request that I wanted to, if there is a possibility for us as a district to look into some of a training program for grant writing, that and open it up to our district. If there's teachers out there, administrators out there, I mentioned this when I was in the chair. I think we should have at least one or two persons at each site, because the needs. There's needs as a district, but then there's needs as a site. So our people training and getting the needs met at school site, as well as a grant team for the district.
And I know that I've received and looked into some different grant writing training companies that offer course type that are like either week-longs, et cetera, that give you some sort of certification. And if that's the wish, that we can definitely continue to look into for, make a recommendation for a team to be trained if that's the direction.
Is that the general direction the board wants to go? Is there any other discussion or any further direction on this contract? Because I think the it expired. Is it expired, Ms. Randall? June 30th is when it would expire. I don't know if this is I think the clause is that it turns into a month-to-month, and we would have to give notification. That's correct. And something else maybe to consider, because recently, I think Ms. Randall also reminded us or brought to our attention that when a contract expires, we have to put it out for RFP, and I just don't know if this is different or we're not doing that. Again, this one is expiring.
I would like to make a recommendation, not a motion, but if you approve of it, maybe as a motion. I would recommend that as the contract is expiring on the 30th, we put out an RFP, as you stated, and negotiate with the California Consulting to close out whatever is on the table right now, and renegotiate the terms of, that specific whatever grant that they're working on, and put out maybe not put out an RFP, and maybe looking for an agency to come and do grant training for us as a district instead of an ongoing consultation. Because
Okay.
I think for the amount that we are paying on a monthly basis, we could have training.
So what you're saying, Ms. Aguilar, is to not extend this contract and instead look for some sort of consultation service that could train some people
Yeah,
from
a
the
limited
district, a
term
group of
saying
people from the
providing
district.
services, not ongoing consultation. Giving
Right.
training to our, a grant writing team on the district level,
Mhm.
and providing grant writing training to school sites individually, so that they can develop their own, individualized grant writing teams
I see.
for what we're paying now.
Right. And just also for your consideration and for you and the rest of the board on that particular notion, which I think it's a great one. Let's also remember, if we're considering having, like you said, teachers on board with this, it would be probably a negotiable item. So let's just consider that also while we, if they were going to spend time looking for grants and writing grants, might be something we want to talk to their leadership about as well. But anything else is direction that this board would like to give on this item?
Well, given your comments, I would then say close out the contract with the existing company.
Give them notice?
And give direction to the superintendent to speak with CTA about the impact of this and how it would work, or I don't know.
With these people.
Either that or an RFP, if that's the wish of the.
Ms. Duarte, Mr. Ortega, any discussion?
She's the one that said it. Put it to a motion.
Just for clarification, Ms. Aguilar had mentioned about the grants that they're currently working on. Are any open to negotiate the price or what it would cost the district for them to continue with that grant? Is that
Yeah,
that a
that's
part of
good.
your direction as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think the month-to-month is on here.
It is.
It is on there, so they'll continue to do the month-to-month or just put us a flat fee for that continuing grant that is out there. And if we don't qualify for the grant, it doesn't come through, we don't get paid.
I was only asking because I thought I heard just to give a formal notice to just to cancel, which would kind of include the month-to-month. So I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
So let me get some clarification. So if we continue with them, even if it's on those two specific items or whatever items there are, they would still be getting paid the flat fee of $5,000 per month?
Correct, it's 4, but yes, it
For-
rolls
for
over
two
into a
things?
month-to-month, yes,
Until they finish it.
yes.
How far are they? Are we in the waiting stage or are we still in the writing stage? Do we know?
They have one for a Play Core grant program for 3 schools, which is Dual Mains and Kennedy. And that is, she's applied for that. And I believe that one they're waiting to hear on that. And then there's one that's due June 23rd for SRO, an SRO type grant. And so that one obviously hasn't been submitted.
I've got further questions. So you said that we're waiting to hear back from the state,
For
whether it's been granted or not?
the one that's already been submitted?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been submitted, so we're waiting from the person that they've requested the grant from, the agency they requested the grant from, as to whether or not we've gotten that grant.
So if it's already been submitted, can't our district assume responsibility for that?
I'll have to look
Yes.
into that.
And the other question is this, is if one's due in
Yeah, we haven't,
hasn't been written?
it hasn't been written, I don't believe.
Okay.
They do have 3 ways of pricing. They have monthly flat rate option, hourly option, and per grant option. So the monthly option is $4,000 a month. The hourly they have the fee schedule. And then the grant individuals will be the same as the monthly retainer option. The difference is rather than unlimited grant research identification writing code, the cost for the grant will depend upon the complexity of the grant chosen. But I don't see
This is the cost more than every so.
it may cost more than 4,000.
So is there a general direction the board would like to give?
I make a motion to discontinue the contract and not extend it.
There's a motion to discontinue the contract and not extend it.
I will second that.
There's a motion by Ms. Aguilar and a second by Mr. Calderon. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
No. Motion carries 3-2. Those voting in favor are Trustee Ortega, Aguilar, Calderon. Voting against, Trustee Duarte and myself. Item number 2. On item L, contract between Calexico Unified School District and Spectrum Advertising for videotaping of board meetings. This was an item that was brought before you at our last meeting. The rate had increased. The rate has now been decreased to, I believe, the original
That is correct.
the original rate, but it is still up. This contract has expired, so we would need a new one for the upcoming school year. I think the board also gave direction to find out what impact it would have for the district to provide videotaping services, and I think you have that information before you.
So, I'm sorry, as you look at the proposal here, as you know, the Public Spectrum had increased our fee for videotaping our meetings without notice to us. And then in dialoguing back and forth, they've been willing to go back to their original price. When we look at, or the original fees, when we look at the cost per meeting that we are experiencing, we are experiencing anywhere between the minimum of $400. We've paid almost up to $900 per meeting, depending. Another one of the options is, what would it require for us to do this service ourselves? One of the things would be for us to purchase equipment, and in addition, the personnel to do the video editing and cleanup so that it can be posted on our website. We estimate that it would be anywhere ballpark between 4 to 6 hours on the day or so following a board meeting. That would obviously entail overtime hours for our present technology department, which would be,
Pay overtime.
And so we and figuring the cost, we figure that the overall cost of doing it in-house would likely be less than us continuing with Spectrum. In addition, it would also, with the, I want to say material, but with the equipment, it would also afford us opportunities to live stream certain events in our district. For example, we just had our graduation last night. That could have been an event that if we had the equipment, we could actually have the event recorded and streamed live if needed. Any significant sporting event, because we would have the equipment to do so. These are just some examples of what we could do if we did it. Mind you, of course, it requires us using our personnel and securing the the equipment.
What about putting requests for proposals?
We believe that Spectrum is the major provider here in the Imperial Valley.
You're the only or the major?
I'd say the only one.
I disagree. I think
Okay.
that maybe if you put it out there, there are people who might be independent agents.
Okay.
I know of one
Local.
myself. Yeah.
Local. I'm not opposed to either training our own personnel and or hiring local, as you say, because we're benefiting our own people.
Mhm.
So
Well, you can't say local because Spectrum
Is local.
well, yeah, but
But like I'm saying, there's individuals out there that do editing, do video production,
video production, yeah, that's
and
what
they
I was
do
looking
have equipment.
for.
Is there direction on this item?
So for now, they have negotiated to keep the contract as it is,
They have brought
Yes.
the price
and the number
back down.
$9,689, is that what we've been paying up to now, or is,
That
that's the pricing to buy the equipment?
Yeah, that's the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the backup.
the full compass quote. That's really, no.
The only
And,
benefit that we would be losing is streaming onto TV, right? To that channel, because they show it with the other IID meetings, and we would not be doing that. That would just be for our community to go into our internet and upload it from there.
Correct.
which anybody can do, I guess. And if we buy this equipment, will we have to provide? Well, I guess we will have to provide specialized training to our IT department, or is it something? No, it's something that they already.
We have a class at the high school that does this.
Yeah. Well, and even okay, so another option is even if we bought this, Ms. Aguilar, even if we bought this equipment ourselves, could we?
You could still contract somebody else out.
Yes, to come and just do it.
And you could have that person put out a request for people to apply to do video
Yeah.
production and editing for you.
Because-
and you still keep the equipment.
Yeah, it's still our equipment, and I'm assuming this is top-notch equipment, right? Yes. All right.
I believe
So-
that we went to TV because our meetings used to be very entertaining. And we made no money out of it.
Ahí está tu novela. So,
I think
Yeah.
the real reason to have it recorded was to be able to have it out to the community, which was in our website, right? Somebody wants something to know what happened, it's gonna be there. I myself, like the last time that we had talked about it, train somebody, to do this. Maybe it can eventually be an ROP class at the high school and have our students do it, and when they come here, they get extra credit or it's a class homework or something, when they record our meetings. And then they edit them in class and stuff. But, I don't know, I like that. I like that option of having our own equipment. The only thing is, how often are we gonna have to maintain this equipment? Because if we're gonna be doing it 3 times, 4 times a year.
Upgrade.
Upgrade and
It's a 4-year, every 3 to 4 years.
every 3, 4 years. So I would make the motion to go this route as to purchasing our own. In this, I guess I would have to make a motion to deny the
Right.
contract.
And then direction. So
And-
maybe 2 things.
And give direction to seek our equipment.
Okay.
buy the equipment.
Own service.
Buy the equipment and
The motion is to,
If
For
y-
contractor?
I think so, probably. You would probably have to have an RFP, right, Mike, for if you wanted to go with an individual videographer / editing.
Oh, I thought we were gonna have someone, staff or the IT department, do it unless I misunderstood.
well, we need to decide what is it.
Well, I'm not to deny, but that's the IT that we have right now is specific to maintaining and upgrading our system. I don't know that is it in their job description?
It would be a different job.
I think, yeah, and I think it would be impact, that maybe that's a con. That you need to,
Because you're hiring somebody else.
there you go.
What is it, the amount that we pay throughout the year? Maybe that's a question I should have asked throughout the week.
Well, hold on, Ruth, hold on. It doesn't necessarily mean that it would be another job description. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, you already had Spectrum providing that service.
But they're not part of our staff.
We don't pay retirement, we don't
Yeah.
pay disability, we don't pay
Right,
the extra benefits.
right. So they're an independent contractor, right? So what's the difference between Spectrum and another independent contractor that works on their own?
Talking about independent contractor.
Yeah.
Well, could we have our own IT work out of classification or something like that until we put
You don't
the
have a
RFP out?
classification. You'd have to develop a
Oh, we
help
don't
me.
have anything like that?
No, we don't have one that's specific to recording events, to recording meetings, to editing. Am I correct?
Well, what I'm
Esther?
saying is, while we put the RFP out and we contract with somebody from the outside, that's what I'm saying.
Well-
We can do that for now,
For right now, yes. Buy the equipment.
contracting.
Also, just, I'll just let me make one point. Also, just keep in mind, we are not, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not mandated to record, to videotape our meetings. So whether or not, I mean, we don't go through with this today, we also don't have to decide today. We
Right.
could give direction for just some more
Exactly.
exploration. So I don't know if that helps you all clarify some of these things. We don't have to, we do have minutes
Yeah.
that are kept. We do have an audio recording of all of the minute, and that keeps us under compliance. The videotape, the video recording is an extra, so it is also an extra cost for us. So just keep that in mind, that if you want to make a motion and then give direction, that you could do that.
I would like, if
Well,
if possible, so she can clarify the answer in terms of.
Yes, Mr. Calderon, you had a question? You were motioning.
Well, the question was regarding whether this type of job already exists. I mean, have we had it in the past? Is
No.
it that we just never used it, or we don't have it?
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't
The
exist.
district had never had a need for such a classification as what Ms. Aguilar was explaining. We don't have a job description that involves videotaping and the such.
Okay, so
But it doesn't mean that the board cannot, if the board wants to create a job description with those duties, it can happen. But there's not one that exists right now.
okay, so we need to talk about that.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was the point I was trying to make, was the fact that, say, and I respect what you're saying. You don't need to continue discussing, but I just wanted to make the clarification, is that just like we contracted with Spectrum, that don't see the difference between contracting with Spectrum or an individual. Precisely because the job description doesn't exist.
But would we be providing the equipment for that individual?
You could, or you could ask the individual to provide it.
Because in the event that you provide it, you're providing the equipment, the tools, then he can make the argument that he's not an independent contractor, that he's an employee.
That's, I don't
Then
know.
you're in a real dangerous situation.
Yeah.
Good point.
Okay.
So, I will, I know it's not redo.
Retract.
I will retract my motion and make another motion to deny the contract with Spectrum Advertising.
So there's a motion by Ms. Duarte to deny the contract between CUSD and Spectrum Advertising for the video taping of our board meetings. Is there a second?
I will second that.
There's a motion by Ms. Duarte, a second by Mr. Calderon. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No.
No. Motion carries 3-2. Those voting in favor are Trustee Aguilar, Duarte, and Calderon. Voting against are Ortega, Trustee Ortega, and myself. Item M, informational only, the accounts payable pre-list. Are there any questions for Ms. Rodriguez?
I have a question. In the last page, second to the last page, 6 of 8, Home Depot, materials for Performing Arts Academy. Is that, or who is that coded to?
This is the new grant that was awarded this year for the dance grant. It's a 50,000. I believe it's a one-time. So it needs. This is part of the budget that was presented.
Okay. I see the Learn It Online for the tutoring services. I know that in the past we have requested documentation from those tutoring services that we have as to how they are helping our students. Because I mean, we just see the charges, but I don't know if we have gotten a report back as to what we're getting for our buck when we're sending our students to these
For the
tutoring
supplemental
programs.
educational services?
Yeah.
I know that that is under the Department of Educational Services, so I don't know if you got that report, have that report yet or not.
Okay.
And usually it's probably something that can be, that we use the summer, because number one, we get their testing results, whether it's, well, now it's called SBAC, but, and this was a pilot year. But still, we would get some sort of results. We also have the MAPS testing, but as we get those results and we compare them to where the kids were that at the beginning of the year that did supplemental services and if there was any growth. So at this point, it's probably a bit premature, but it's something that could probably be gathered throughout this summer.
Yeah,
Very accurate.
I think that would be good, because we had said, we allow the parents to choose the tutoring.
And I know that that's been a
area.
big drive for Dr. Estrada this whole year. That's pretty much what he had tried to set forth with the maps, et cetera, and everything else to see where we are at the beginning, where we are at the end. And so this is something that he could likely put together in a report before the end of the summer when we get all of our results.
So, in terms of that, so let's presuppose that there has been, either an increase or a decrease in the learning. So from there, how do we determine what programs we're going to keep or so forth?
With regards to, and that's also a very catchy situation, because with regards to the supplemental educational services providers, if they're approved if they are on the state approved list, and a parent selects that company, we as a district cannot discourage that if that's the choice of a parent. When parents ask us, do we recommend one company over another, we are not allowed to provide a preference. What we can do is have the supplemental educational services fair that we have every fall, and we provide whomever is on the list the opportunity to present to parents, and those parents may select based on the presentations. But if somebody comes in and we know it's treading very carefully, because we really can't make a yay or nay recommendation against a provider.
But based on what, the maps that Dr. Estrada is developing, isn't that public information?
Yeah, but we can say, we do know that these companies have worked with us before in the past, and this is the growth that these companies happen to have with the kids that they worked. We could probably
That's what I'm
generate
saying.
something like
Can't
that.
we provide them with
Yes.
those reports? Yeah,
Yes.
the data.
We could do something like that.
And the other thing that I was going to say is that I've heard from various parents is that sometimes it feels like that fair is a little too rushed. They're running around from table to table, and you know, in order to make a well-informed decision, I would think that, you know, if you need to spread it out over a week or a couple days, so that people and provide them with a report, plus, you know, so that they're not running around from table to table.
And the reason why I bring this up is because I see many of them. I don't think we had this much before, and they just pop out in almost every other page, and they range from $6,000 to $30,000. So, you know, although we need to have them and stuff, I don't think we, the board, know how much they're charging to us. It's a free service for the student, how much they're charging to us. And although we do have the money there for these type of things, you know, we need to also make sure that we're getting the quality assistance
Yes,
for our students.
and we could definitely give you a rundown of the general, what the general numbers are. I do know, just from having worked with SES in a previous life, that an SES provider serves about 13 to 15 sessions of tutoring on average, and on average it's about the $1,300 to $1,800 per pupil cost, depending on the program, obviously.
Yeah.
Some may charge a little more, some may charge a little less, but that's kind of the general frame. But that's definitely important information that you should have as well. So.
And am I incorrect in saying that these supplemental programs work on a year contract, and that regardless if the student completes the tutoring or not, they still get paid?
I can answer to that. The invoices come with a roster, and they do have an accrual of hours that the student has completed. So that's how the invoices come in.
So say, for example, a student selects supplemental services XYZ, and they say, for example, they didn't like it, and they go to another supplemental. Does the first one drop them?
I'm not sure about changing providers in the middle of the year, aside from the from the fair.
Okay, so
But-
then let's say they drop it, period, they stop going. Do they continue charging us?
What I've seen on the invoices, I haven't seen that. happen.
That's more of a programmatic issue, and normally a student chooses, or a family chooses a provider, and there's rarely ever a change between a provider from one provider to another.
Right, but there, I guess my final question is, because it was my understanding, but that's why I'm asking for, if my information is wrong, that if, say, for example, they stop, okay, forget about the transferring from one to another, but if they stop going to the service provider, and they say, I don't like it, my kid doesn't like it, are we still stuck with the contract?
If the student finishes, if the student opts out, they're going to bill for the time that they've provided the service, because there has to be a roster attached to it, and that's how they submit the payment. If they finish the program, then obviously they're going to get the full payment. If it has to be prorated, then it becomes prorated. In terms of jumping from one provider to another, that's a little bit hard, because you have, it's obviously first come, first serve, and if you're going to jump to another provider and they've already, if you were allotted 13 sessions and you've already used 4 or 5 and you want to go to another provider, well, you're only going to get the amount that's your balance, because it's a per student allocation. And otherwise, basically, you'd have to go to the end of the line.
And
And that would be monitored through, our curriculum office.
and how do we determine that those rosters are accurate or true?
That I will have to defer to Dr. Estrada.
Dr. Estrada?
Well, good evening, Isaac Estrada, Director of Academic Services. To answer your question about how do we determine if they start with one provider and finish with another provider.
No, my question, this last question
Right.
was, how do we determine that they are providing the service? How do we verify that sign-in,
Right.
that it is accurate, that the parent did sign off?
Because part of the contract is we have the what we call easy reporting online. So every service that the student gets, actually it's monitored and it's reported through our online system. And what we do is we run reports to ensure that basically our kids are finishing the programs.
Okay. But you get that electronic report from the program, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The reason I'm questioning it so in depth is because I have inside information in terms of people who have worked in there. They went back and they backdated information. Went back and got signatures from students. Went back and got signatures from parents. That to the program, and the program submits it to you electronically. And so that's where I'm saying, where is our oversight to verifying that how those signatures are being collected? I'm not using anybody's
Right.
name, anybody's program, because I don't want to get anybody into trouble. But I know that for a fact did happen.
Okay.
So I'll put it on
Right.
on your radar that is something that really needs to be monitored, and
Right.
and and that does happen and has happened.
Yeah, we can certainly revisit those procedures to see what else we can do to ensure that the hours that are actually reported are actually accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on the accounts payable P-list? If nothing else, we're going to move on to our consent agenda.
You can draw out on
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Item N, consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I'm sorry, we're in item what?
Item N, consent agenda.
I'd like to pull item number 4.
Is there a motion to approve consent agenda minus item number 4?
Motion to approve.
It's a motion to approve by Ms. Aguilar, the consent agenda minus item number 4. Is there a second?
Second.
The second by Mr. Ortega. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries unanimously. Those voting in favor are trustee Ortega Aguilar, Duarte Calderon, and myself. Item number 4, agreement between Doug Hartline and CUSD for inspector of record and the proposal for inspection and testing services with John Byerly Incorporation for Rockwood Emerson Field Lighting Project. Ms. Duarte.
Hi, Mr. Martinez.
Hi.
Good
Good evening.
Good evening. This is for the lighting at the Emerson Field only?
That is correct.
And is this to put in new lighting?
During that it's to put the new lighting because there's a DSA mandate on this as far as having an inspector of record for DSA. during the construction period, we need DSA inspector on the job at all times. And in addition, we need an additional inspection from the factory, I'm sorry, as far as when they're putting this post together, to make sure the concrete posts on the bottom are also inspected at the time of fabric implant inspections.
So do we have lighting there right now?
There is no lighting there now.
Emerson Field, is it?
At Rockwood Elementary,
Oh, okay.
It's at the corner of,
That's the Little League.
yeah.
Little League Park, yes.
Oh, okay. So we do have or we don't have lighting?
There is no lighting there at this time. There used to be lighting before the earthquake, but after the earthquake, they were
Took it down?
removed.
Okay. So now we're in the process of putting lighting.
That is correct.
So, I know we did we get money from, FEMA? Or what is the monies that is going to be used for this? Where is the money coming out from?
I don't recall the date, but I'm going to say maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, whatever date it was, we asked the Board of Education for approval to move on with this one project. At the same time, there was another project for Dual and also Rockwood to finish off a couple of rooms in each location due to the earthquake. At that time, the board also approved this project with Team C to, Team C was the lowest responsive bidder on this particular project. And I don't recall the date, but it's some time ago, and the board gave approval to move on with this project. March 26th? Of 13, okay.
Okay, are you reading the backup documentation? Where's the money coming from? From FEMA
There
or?
was FEMA funding, but there was also some impact to the general fund as well.
Okay. So more than likely, the 18,000 is gonna come out from the general fund?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And, Mr. Martinez, do you know more or less an estimate time of doing the project? The actual lighting and stuff?
They said anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Once they start, they've already started a portion where we don't need the DSA inspection, the IID portion, right? So it's anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks to complete the project.
Okay. And any wording on this lighting for the high school?
No word on that,
No
no.
word on that?
No. We
And
still,
that's probably gonna be out of our pockets too, right? Out of the
definitely.
general fund.
I don't recall the exact amount as far as what we were entitled to, or that shouldn't be the correct word, but monies from FEMA, I think it was in the neighborhood of about $70,000 to $80,000 in that area.
Not even the electrical
Mhm.
wire is gonna be
Yeah.
paid out of that.
Exactly.
But, okay, so.
I don't, we have lighting, I'm sorry, can I interject
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Um,
I lost
do
my
we
train of
have
thought.
lighting for the boys area?
No, we don't.
We don't. So the boys team is the one that uses the league then?
No, actually, it's the softball team. The more of the JV team is the one that actually plays at Emerson Field, and the varsity softball team plays here at the high school.
And they have to play here in the day.
That is correct.
So why can't the varsity play over there as well?
Oh, that'll be a decision made at the time whether they want to make that move and change teams around in regards to play more in the evening over there. It all had to do back with the earthquake as far as what was existing then. The reason for the high school field for that amount was that we used to have wooden poles, and we had transmission lines on top, the very old style back from the 60s.
Yeah.
Very dangerous, 12,000 volts running around there, and that's the reason everything was
Yeah, 'cause
taken
I
down.
remember that you need to put it to code, ADA, and
Exactly.
all that. I remember that discussion. So, was there some additional work? I know it's not ours, but that field over there by Vincent Memorial, wasn't that upgraded recently?
You mean Rodriguez Field?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That would be a city's,
That's a city's.
yeah, it
Yeah.
belongs to the city, it doesn't belong to the school district,
I
so.
know, but just like how we have shared facilities use with them coming onto our,
We have
used it in
the past for baseball, not softball, for baseball.
Yes, for baseball. Actually, the baseball team, the high school baseball team was there doing their fall training practices or fall games
okay.
that aren't related to the school time games, right? Because of CIF. But yeah, they use those. You're absolutely right, Mr. Ciro Calderon.
Let me ask one final question and then I'll shut up. You said that that it's not being used in the evening, or there wasn't, to your knowledge, anything being used, that field being used at the evening?
In regards to which one now?
Emerson?
Emerson, originally, when there was lights, yes. Now, obviously, no lights, no.
Okay. I want to share something with you. I live 2 blocks away, and there's been several times that I've passed by. They've got some type of electrical or gas-generated lighting, and there's people practicing there.
Oh, well, I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware of that.
Gotta get somebody out there and
So
check
maybe
it out.
have the
They're using our
security,
electricity.
yeah, use the security to take a stroll by there too, because that's happening.
Unless they're using
Yeah.
the the migrants' electricity. But anyways, have you come across any type of lighting grants?
The only ones that we came, that almost happened, but obviously that didn't materialize, were the ones that one grant that was being put together by this company.
For lighting? Or
It was for lighting, yes, but there, as Ms. Ambriz was saying, they were asking for a lot of different things
Oh,
that
I
the
see.
district could not commit to, or at least that's what the consensus was.
All right. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Is there a motion on item number 4 of consent agenda?
I motion to approve.
Motion to approve item number 4 under consent agenda by Ms. Duarte. Is there a second? I will second. Any further
And-
discussion?
Yeah, just for clarification, just to get the documentation started. We don't know when it's going to come alive, but at least we get the documentation
Right.
going. We might get somebody that might want to donate the lighting out there or something.
There's a motion by Ms. Duarte, a second by myself. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Those voting in favor are trustee Ortega, Aguilar, Duarte, Calderon, and myself. Before moving on to item O, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Item O on your agenda, superintendent's recommendations. Ms. Ambriz, Ms. Rodriguez.
Under letter O, we have for the board to approve payment back to CDE for $407,344 for unspent Title I dollars. This amount is for the 2011-12 school year. As you recall, back in 11-12, even though budget wasn't necessarily the issue, the big issue at the time was the cash flow. And so even though we had allotments, et cetera, we did not have the free ability to spend at the time because of our cash flow issues. As a result, we had basically actually about 800,000 unspent dollars in that area. We had been able to bring down that number down to this amount. And unfortunately, this is the amount that we do have to return back in terms of Title I dollars. Okay, but it is rooted, the unspent dollars is rooted in the fiscal crisis we had and in our inability to spend because of our cash flow issues at the time.
Maria, I see that Claudia Montaño saved this back on one day after my birthday, 21st of February of this year. I don't remember ever talking about this. Why is it that we were not informed of this? This is not $20,000. This is almost $500,000 that we are talking about. So, why is it that until now we're being informed about this situation if she had known since February?
I know that she was trying, my recommendation to her was to see what she could do in terms of contacting our officials at CDE to see what could be done to bring down that number even further. And that's really where it's at.
Is there any way that we can appeal this? Is there any way that we can go and talk to them?
I know I assisted Mrs. Montaño with this, and she did attempted to get a waiver for this. But however, before that, there had already been a waiver for 1011 on file. And as per the guidelines, you cannot do waivers 2 years in a row. So that also contributed to the unspent funds.
An appeal? Can we do an appeal?
Not at this point.
Was there any conversations in regards to ICOE holding our accounts and hostage and not being able to spend anything that was over $5,000? That happened during that time where county superintendent was not allowing us to buy anything whatsoever because of that. So, I mean, if we were paying the department $500,000 to be an oversight, now this is part of.
This is kind of the trickle down effect.
Yeah, and now we have to
crisis
pay
that
back.
we were in, and it's unfortunate, but at that time we didn't have the cash, which is why it was a trickle down in a lot of different areas, and I think the district really did try to exhaust every effort as far as even, we couldn't go the waiver route. We were able to spend as much as we could to spend down, and the district historically would carry over large sums of categorical money from year to year to year. So this is kind of a result of past practice, and then the fiscal crisis didn't help. And the fact that we didn't have the cash to really spend anything, we were limited to purchases that were $5,000 or less. So all of those things being taken into consideration, CDE still has their rules and guidelines to follow, meaning we only have a certain amount of time to spend each entitlement, and I believe it's like 27 months, and I think it's 27 months. But again, because we carry over, or in the past have carried over so much money, this is kind of the condition in which we're in today, or contributing factor to that.
So when the first time this was notified, there was no way of whatever things that were purchased that would have belonged to Title I could have been reimbursing the general fund? Journal entries?
I would believe that did occur. Remember, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars. I mean, every year, I believe the entitlement for Title I for the district is well over $3 million.
Yeah. And that is why I continue to say the schools should take care of their funding, because the district office has no idea what the schools really need. And I'm saying that because I've been here 4 years, and we have been sending money back to the state. because there's really no caretaker to each school site. I continue to hear principals say, we need this, we need that, we need this, and they don't get it. And it's very frustrating to send back $400,000, $500,000 back because of past. But I think we're in the situation, because if you really calculate when the staff was taken out of the schools, that's when it started happening. And it started rolling. And the project's office assistants are now centralized in the district office. And this money is, there is no real allocation. There is nothing to say, you know what, I'm going to use Ms. Demian because she's here. Ms. Demian, you have $150,000. I can't tell her that right now because it's all one big lump of money. So when you break it, it's easier to spend it. And I don't mind if we end up with a zero balance. That's good because we're doing something
Or
for our
contributing
children.
$1. That's my famous.
Yeah.
I would rather contribute $1 from the general fund than to send back any entitlement
Correct.
funds. So
So, you know, and I'm gonna stick to it this year again. We need to put projects assistants in the offices so that they can assist the principal on how to spend the money. And it has to be done, because this is unacceptable.
I wanted to add something. I don't know if you're looking at this page. The award for that year was $3.5 million. The expenditures that you see here are 2.6, but but this is 2.6 of the current year award. The actual program did spend $3.5 million in direct services to the students. And why is the difference not there? Because that's the previous year carryover. So in essence, the program did go above and beyond that 80% requirement in providing services to the students.
Yeah,
It's-
but if it wouldn't have the domino effect, and if the district office would have said, okay, schools, you're in April, and you still have money left, you need to spend it. Take out your wish list and spend it. That has not been happening for a few years already, because there's nobody at the school sites to say, sit down and type purchase orders.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. So, you know, when you have the money at the district office, you really can't control how much you really have. Yeah.
I keep listening here in schools that tell me, well, we don't have paper. Okay, we have to make our own copies. We have to go to Walmart and buy basketballs and soccer balls and equipment so the kids can play. And then I see this. I'm sorry, somehow it doesn't make sense. Unfortunately.
And this
It doesn't make sense when I have a teacher call me, well, they only gave me 1 or 3 more paper for the month. And then and I have 32 students. But and then yet I see this report that we have to return almost $500,000. I mean, you don't need to have a PhD to put 2 and 2 together and see that something's going on, something is wrong with this picture.
Yeah, there are various variables in there.
Regardless of the variables, something is wrong with this picture. Okay?
Yes, Ms. Aguilar.
We've gone to the California Department of Education, and there's some there's a discussion here. The U.S. Department of Education granted California Department of Education a waiver for the once in a 3-year restriction on granting carryover waiver to the LEA, provided that the LEA needs an additional waiver due to the hardship caused by sequestration. This is a one-time waiver and applies to fiscal year 2012-13.
Yeah.
11-12. But I would make the argument that we as a district should appeal to the California Department of Education under extenuating circumstances based on where we were in the process of practically being taken into receivership, you know.
There's got to be somebody, as you say, that we can
You
talk
know,
to.
I think we need to go lobby the Department of Education.
That's what we need to do. It's a lot of money.
I mean, if they say can you spend this money in a week, we'll spend it in a day. Yeah.
May I inquire? Is there a deadline for returning this money?
It's due and payable within 30 days of the date of the invoice.
That's, the date is May 16.
The date of the invoice is May 16th,
Yes.
Is there a penalty for failure to
so we're already late. May?
Carolina, can you
Oh,
come
we're in
over here?
June.
June 16th.
June 16th.
Is there a penalty for paying late?
Not that I'm aware of.
More?
I doubt it. Or, you know what, not that I'm aware, I've never seen a penalty assessed on a CDE payment, but I think we promptly paid the CDE return for funds in the past.
To me, that appears very, very unfair of the state to allow to do that to us or to any school district, because if they really look at our history of the sequestration and all that happened.
I think if we didn't have waivers, or a waiver in the past, which would have been for the 10-11 for the unspent funds, then we would have had a chance to secure the waiver for these funds, and we wouldn't have had to pay it back. But we had a waiver, and we consistently had a waiver in this program every other year because of the high amount of carryover that we consistently have had in this program, and a lot of the programs that we
So why do we carry over? That's what I don't understand. Why does this district carry over money when we publicly say we don't have any?
Well,
It
we
doesn't
carry
look
over
good.
budget, I'll say that, and we're in a crisis where we didn't have the cash, in order to, spend the funds, so.
I still think we should try and talk to Department of Education and somebody, Turlockson or somebody. I mean, this district cannot afford to just send back $407,000. I'm sorry, thousand. It feels like 407 million.
We can do that, and then if you wanna,
We have till Friday, right? Next Friday? We have till next Friday, so somebody make a phone call tomorrow. They'll probably be out on a flex day or something.
for budget cuts.
Budget cut. But, yeah, we need to make another attempt to see if we can do something in regards to this. That's a lot of money. And Title I is one of our biggest budgets that we have. So, lesson learned, we need to spend.
Can I add just one comment that if we make the call tomorrow, we don't have another opportunity to bring this to the board for payment, for approval for payment until the end of June, which would go past the deadline, and the county will not process the payment unless it's board approved.
Well, I will make the motion. I mean, I don't want to be assessed penalties on this thing, because there'll probably be another $50,000. But I would make the motion to approve, but still explore make the calls and see if we can get this down or something, maybe we can have it as a Christmas present or something.
That'd be nice.
But tell them we're gonna buy books. But yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the payment.
There's a motion by Ms. Duarte, and for the record, Mr. Calderon is not here for this portion of the vote. He stepped out at about 8:24. There's a motion by Ms. Duarte to approve board item number 1 under superintendent's recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Ms. Aguilar. All those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Those voting in favor are trustee Ortega, Aguilar, Duarte, and myself. Mr. Calderon is not here for this vote. Item number 2, revision of job description, school support technician.
No, we've been receiving waivers every other year because we carry too much over. Okay. Carry over too much.
This item is with regards to the school support technician job description. If we look at the people who hold the position at the ninth grade campus, for example, since that was considered a junior high position and they're now considered high school, we need to change the job description to reflect that the position is inclusive of a high school setting, just to make the job descriptions reflect an accurate placement for these employees. Yes.
This is just changing high school?
Adding
Or
hi-
jun-
adding
ju-
hi-
adding high school
high
to
school.
it?
Mhm.
I make a motion to approve.
It's a motion by Ms. Duarte to approve. For the record, Mr. Calderon has returned to the meeting at about 8:28 p.m. There's a second by Mr. Calderon to approve item number 2 under Section O, Superintendent's Recommendations. Seeing no discussion, all those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Those voting in favor are trustee Ortega Aguilar, Duarte Calderon, and myself. Item number 3 is the board policy revision, board policy 9324. Under minutes and recordings, this policy board is, will probably explain why we have to go trustee by trustee and report out who is here, who votes how. If somebody leaves the boardroom at any particular time, that must always be reflected in the meetings. Government Code 54953 states that we have to report any action taken, the vote or abstention of that action of each member present. Also, that upon approval of the minutes, those minutes are signed by the clerk of the board. Is there a motion to approve the revision of this board policy?
Move to approve.
So motion by Mr. Calderon to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ortega. All those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Those voting in favor are trustee Ortega, Aguilar, Duarte Calderon, and myself. Item number 4, awarding of bid number 2014-008 for asbestos abatement services and agreement approval. And you should have, is that the packet that we have in front of us?
This is to add the whole thing plus the contract, correct?
And you do have that packet in front of you. Is there, because it was revised?
Yeah, yes, there was a revision to include the actual name of, on one line. Mhm. One line was missing a name.
Why are we buying it? I think it was section 10. Just upload it to the internet and that's it.
Yes, there was a correction made to line number 10 that includes the contractor's name and his title.
And that's why we have an updated version here in front of us?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And I
Is there any
believe
discussion?
there are copies for the public.
Correct. Do you want to just maybe give a brief background on this item?
Okay.
Back on May 1st, there was a presentation to the board about removing asbestos for the relocatable buildings back, 4 at Willie Moreno, 1 at or 2 at Kennedy Gardens, and 1 at Mains Elementary School. And the board did give permission to go out and seek a bid for the removal of the asbestos, and we provided an estimate at that time as to what we thought the cost would be. We had 2 companies respond to the bid, and we've selected the lowest responsive bidder for this project.
I'm reading the screen.
Oh, okay, I'm like, okay.
No, I'm not looking at you. I'm reading the
Well,
screen.
ask your question. And of course, we go through the process of, the committee screens and all that.
So, Watkins, TEG will not come back with a bid, order change, right? A change order?
Expectation they would come back with a change order. No. They, as a part of this process, each of the companies, they did a physical inspection of the trailers for abatement. So they are aware of, exactly what to do or what needs to be done. So there should not be any change orders coming back for this job.
A motion to approve.
Second.
It's a motion by Ms. Duarte to approve item number 4 under section O, and a second by, motion by Ms. Duarte and a second by Mr. Calderon. If there's no further discussion, all those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries 5-0. Those voting in favor are Trustee Ortega, Aguilar, Duarte Calderon, and myself. Item number 5, approval of superintendent's contract. I make a motion to table this item as there is some additional information that, for your consideration under the contract that should come back to us at a later meeting. That is my motion.
We'll second that.
It's a second by Mr. Calderon to table item number 5. If no discussion, all those voting in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Those voting in favor are Trustee Ortega, Aguilar, Duarte Calderon, and myself. Item P, board members' closing comments. Mr. Ortega.
I have none at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar.
None at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Duarte.
I'd just like to say that I thought the graduation was nice, and it was kind of short. It wasn't as long as last year's. I just wish that the speeches of the valedictorian and the salutatorians were a little more inspirational. I don't know. I mean, it's their time to shine, and I wish they would have shined the way they do academically. But it's their speech, but I just felt that they could have been a little more inspirational. Fireworks were nice, but I think last year's were nicer. Just because I have a daughter that graduated last year. But it was more emotional last year too. So anyways, it was a little emotional because that would be my last graduation. So I tried to enjoy it, and I really did.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Duarte.
And everybody that will not be working this summer, have a good summer vacation.
Thank you. Mr. Calderon.
Congratulations to all the schools for the graduations, promotion, etc. Last night's graduation and Aurora's graduation were really, really nice. I wish we could accommodate all the 600 students and thousands of parents in one auditorium, but I know we cannot. So just like Aurora's graduation. Junior high sports, I believe sports are really important, and I'm gonna keep pushing for those sports because we spend money on everything else. We spend $16,000 a month in just cleaning cleaning clothes, why can we spend some of the money on our students? So I don't know, maybe I don't make sense, but I think I do. Other than that, congratulations to all the graduates and promotees, and if I don't see you during the summer, have a good summer.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. I have no comments at this time.
I
Yes,
forgot
Ms.
something. Can I make a quick
Sure.
announcement?
Very quick.
Well, it's my time. I'm going to do like that little girl did. No,
It's my time.
it's my time. They gave me permission. Just to share with you that I've been working together with Lupita Cesena with the after-school program, and Mr. Ben Martinez, and we are working together to reach out to current college students, whether maybe they're out at IVC or at San Diego State at different levels, and we are looking towards recruiting them over the summer, processing them, so then you actually have people, you know, in specific content area, whether it's at the liberal studies or the single subject. So, and apparently they received an additional after-school funding grant, so that will allow them to be able to hire somebody that, you know, whether they have 48 units or an associate or a substitute credential, not substitute permit, not credential, and so forth. And so you're going to have a lot people that are really prepared in that area. And I'm really excited about that, to be working with them, and hopefully this can get out there, and people who are eligible can apply for it. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar. We're going to reconvene to our earlier closed session.